You will need a screwdriver. This one comes with a machine, and you want the small screwdriver like that so it's easier to work to remove the needle plate. You'll need a brush. Usually the machine brings a brush, but I like this one because it's a little bit longer and it's easier for me to handle. I use a little bit of foam or a foam brush, and you'll see why in just a moment. And the oil, I have my oil in a oil dropper, a lone oil dropper, because it's again easier to handle and pour when it's time to pour the oil. You will need a vacuum cleaner, and I personally like this tiny tubes cleaner attachment that goes on my vacuum cleaner, but any skinny long attachment will work. And the reason why I use a vacuum cleaner is because it is not recommended that you use an air blower, because those will actually blow the lint inside the machine. And once you get all that lint inside the machine, plus adding the oil, it will gunk up your machine and make a mess. First, make sure that you unplug your machine from its power source. Now remove the bobbin and the bobbin case, and make sure that you unscrew and remove the presser foot as well as the sewing needle. Remove any stickers, tape, guides, anything that you have that may be touching your needle plate. Make sure you put those screws away in a safe place so you can find them later. Now you're going to grab a small brush. Usually the machines bring their own brushes, but if not, you can buy a small brush and start removing all the lint out. Work through the feeding dogs and all the components inside the machine, as well as the needle plate and everything. And make sure that you pull out the lint and not push it back inside the machine. Now this machine has a cover at the bottom, so go ahead and open the cover and remove all the lint that will be in that bottom cover. Make sure that you pull out any lint from underneath the machine as well. Now it's time to vacuum your machine. I start here at the bottom, and I pretty much make sure that I get this tool all inside the components of my machine as much as possible, and I vacuum everything. The cover plate, I even vacuumed the table. On and around the machine, there is a lot of little pieces of threads and lint that just gets in all the nooks and cranny of the machine. So you want to make sure you get everything out. Now you're going to do the same with the top part of the machine. You're going to vacuum all the components that feed dogs. You're going to vacuum where the presser foot will go, the needle, where the thread goes, everywhere in this machine. Make sure that you vacuum everything. This is very important because you don't want any lint to go into your machine. You want to pull it all out. Consider liking this video and subscribing to this channel if you have learned something today. After I vacuum, I actually found more lint in the components of my machine. So Go back and double check and make sure that you get every little bit of lint out. Do this as much as you need to. And now I'm going to vacuum it one more time. I just want to make sure I get everything out as much as possible. Don't forget to clean your bobbin case too. Use the little brush and get as much lint as you can, or little pieces of thread that may be stuck in there. That is important that you also don't forget this part. Now let's put some oil on your machine. I buy the oil first specifically for my machine. You can buy other oils. I bought the big container and then I put it on my little container, and I follow the instructions from the manual. So these little arrows is where you're supposed to pour the oil. The instruction says to pour some oil. I don't do more than 3 drops of oil per hole. I found that if I do more than that, my machine actually gets really oily, and I've had actually oil dripping through my needle. So 3 drops I found is the right amount. And I put these little stickers on where I need to pour my oil so that I always remember that's where I need to add oil for my machine. Now inside here, the bobbin case, do you see that little pointy metal part here? That is the hook inside the bobbin case. We need to put a little bit of oil there. That's where the foam comes handy. You're just gonna take your foam or the foam brush, and right there in that little pointy section, I'm just gonna put some oil. See how quickly that went in there? Okay, so carefully. And you're going to use foam because the foam doesn't leave any residue lint behind. You're just gonna go in there, and I just gonna tap it a little bit. Just touch the little pointy section right there, and that's it. That's all. You can save this piece of foam for the next time. Now let's put it all back together, right? I start by adding the needle plate. So find your screws and make sure that you screw it back in place, and put any of your tapes and guides and measurements that you may have, put them back where they were, and make sure it's tight. That's important. Next, I am going to cover the bottom of the machine. Don't forget to do that part. It can get a little tricky to get it in there. I see some lint still, but I tried to get it all out. And place your cover. Nice. Now I'm going to add my bobbin case with the bobbin. I tried to do this before I add the needles and the presser foot. So make sure you add it back in there. And insert your foot, your presser foot, and screw it back in place I screw it by hand and then I tighten it with a little screwdriver that comes with the machine. And finally, I add the needle. I always add the needle at the end, making sure that everything is in place, and that is the last step. And make sure you tighten it using your screwdriver. I like to move things around once I know that it's tightened, so that way it doesn't get loosened up when I'm sewing. Now you can turn your machine back on and run it a little bit. Make sure the oils move around the machine and you are ready to go.